the Sky This Month with your host, Dave McDonald.
Welcome to the Sky This Month, and this is April 2025, and boy, do we have a show for you, of course. So you notice the image behind me kind of has a little bit of pinkishness to it, and there's a reason for that this month of April. We have some neat things to talk about. We have planets, of course, in the sky, particularly Mars and Jupiter, that are blazing. We have the pink moon to talk about, and we're going to spend a little time talking a little bit more in depth about the moon and some things that you can see on the moon. We have a meteor shower this month. The Lyrid meteor shower is active towards the end of the month. We'll tell you about that, where to see it, how to see it, and of course, for many, this is the month for Easter, and we're going to explain why is Easter on so many different days, depending upon the year? Why isn't it just like always the second Sunday of the month of April or something like that? Well, we'll get into that as well. So let's check out what's going on in April. Once again, we're going to be talking about planets, the pink moon, meteor shower coming up, and Easter. So what do you think about this image here? This is really kind of a cool image. And I don't know if any of you got to see the partial solar eclipse, which was happening on Saturday, March 29th at sunrise. So the moon was covering the sun partially. So the sun rose in a partial solar eclipse as it came up. So see if you can follow with my red laser dot here. Can you see right here, like right behind those trees? That is where the sun is rising. So we see the sun rising right here. And this is up in near Caribou, Maine. So it's way up there. And this gives you an idea. So you can see the coast of Maine. We get into Holton, and then the coast of Maine kind of goes inland, if you will. And then way up in northern Maine is where that image and the next couple images were located. And I want to give credit off the top so I don't forget later when I show you the images to Terry Ann Anderson of Ellsworth, Maine, who took the pictures that I'm about to show you, again, up in the Caribou area. And Terry Ann Anderson, thank you very much. So you see the area way up there, and this is what was seen. Again, it's a partial solar eclipse, and like watch some of these images change. You can kind of see like the branches from trees in the foreground, so you certainly get the idea that this sun that is rising was very close to the horizon as you see those trees in the foreground. But kind of neat. So around here in New Hampshire, well, it was kind of a miserable weather day, so I don't think anybody around here, maybe others in other parts of the country, maybe you got to see it, and that would be neat. Feel free to send me a photo if you did. This is from Greenland, and the capital town, and this is kind of neat. So there's a statue and a person just admiring the partial solar eclipse, which is kind of up and behind some relatively thin clouds, which actually I think maybe enhanced the image here. So I thought that was a very cool image to share with you. Again, if you got some pictures from local area or wherever local was for you, I'd love to have them. Send them to me, Dave McDonald. So my email, you know, is astromannh@gmail.com. astromannh@gmail.com. Love to hear from you. Or if you have any questions about anything else or any comments you want to send my way is fine. So April 12th is the full moon for this month of April, and it's happening at night after 8 o'clock in the evening. So it's kind of nice because oftentimes the actual moment of fullness happens like in the daytime or some time before the moon rises or after it sets or something. So on April 12th, in between 8 and 9 o'clock, the moon is actually pinpointed to be full. And it's called the pink moon for April, the pink moon. Now, this image that you're looking at is a little exaggerated intentionally on the pink side, but I do want to take a moment and zoom in a little bit closer on the moon and talk a little bit about what the moon is, some of the things that you can, some of the features you can see on the moon. So follow my red laser dot. And I want to show you, this is the soccer player on the moon. Now, you may be able to make it out when you look up at the moon with the unaided eye. Binoculars will definitely help you see the soccer player. So you heard of the old man on the moon, and typically like this is an eye and this is an eye, and depending upon which way you're looking at it, the mouth may be over here. But I think it's kind of fun for all of us to envision a soccer player here, and that's going to help me with my Moon Psychology 101 to talk about some of the seas that we see. So these darker areas that we see are referred to as seas or oceans, or in Latin, maria. And the maria are called that because the leading theory is the moon was created when something big and massive hit Earth and pushed the moon out of Earth, and then it obviously got into orbit around Earth. And so the thought was, well, since Earth is like 75% coverage of water, there must be water on the moon. So the natural thought was that these darker areas were oceans or seas. Well, we know better now that that's not the case. They're actually dried up lava beds, and that darker material that we see is a material called basalt. So let's take a look here at the soccer player. This is the head of the soccer player, and the head of the soccer player is the Sea of Serenity. It's nice when you have serenity in your head or in your mind. Then right under the head, forming the body, is the Sea of Tranquility. And it was right here in like the lower left area of the Sea of Tranquility that Apollo 11 landed, our first landing on the moon, when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin got out to walk around, and Mike Collins continued orbiting the moon in the spacecraft. So the body is called the Sea of Tranquility. Then the kicking leg, the leg in the front, if you see them kicking the ball from your perspective to the right, is the Sea of Fertility. And then we have the soccer ball. And the soccer ball is the Sea of Crisis. So there's 4 seas to remember. And here's a little way that I like to remember them and help you remember them. So in the soccer player, we have the head is the Sea of Serenity. It's nice when you have serenity in your head, in your mind. And it's nice when you have tranquility in your body. The Sea of Tranquility makes up the body. And then the kicking leg, as I said, is the Sea of Fertility. Doesn't fit exactly into my little illustration here. But the soccer ball, the Sea of Crisis, it's nice when we have serenity in our mind, tranquility in our body, and we're kicking the crises out of our life. So, kind of cool. And hopefully that'll help you remember it. And then I want to show you 2 very predominant craters that you can see, and binoculars will give you a big help. So this is the crater as you go towards the left of the head, the first major one that's pretty obvious. That's Copernicus, and it's kind of in this lighter region here in the middle of it, and that's Copernicus, the crater called Copernicus. And then another easy one, that I think your eye gets drawn to is down on the bottom area, the southern part of the moon here is Tycho. Tycho or Tycho, I think most people pronounce it Tycho, Tycho, and that has all these rays coming out of it. And this is an area of whiter soil, a lot lighter, and the lighter areas are referred to as highlands, and the material that the highland is made out of is called a northrosite. So a northrosite is the whiter area or the highland area, and the darker areas are lowlands, they're the seas, and the material there is called basalt. So this is just a little bit of a review slide. So on the left side, the soccer player's C's, just to help you remember, serenity is the head of the soccer player, the C of tranquility is the body of the soccer player, the C of fertility is the kicking leg, and the C of crisis is the ball. And then I've got those two craters labeled to help you remember. So Copernicus is this one here that it's pointing to. And then towards the bottom, towards the southern area of the moon, is the crater Tycho. So hopefully next time you go out, whether it's with your binoculars or even better, obviously, if you have a small telescope. And at this time, I just want to remind you that if you are in the Concord, New Hampshire area, that every first Friday night of every month, so April will be April 4th, we have a special program at the McAuliffe Shepherd Discovery Center called Superstellar Fridays. We have a special program. You can check out what the current program is online at StarHop, STARHOP.com. And we have the New Hampshire Astronomical Society. If it's at least partially clear, there'll be astronomers with telescopes of all different sizes and types, looking at a whole host of items, what I call celestial delights in the sky. And we also have an astronomer on duty, so you can come and ask the astronomer any question, like if you have a telescope you want to bring in because you don't know how it works, or you forgot about it, it's in your garage, in your attic, bring it on in. Or you just may want to have a chat with one of the astronomers that are there to answer any of your questions about the night sky and what's going on there. So that's the first Friday night of every month at the McAuliffe Shepherd Discovery Center in Concord, New Hampshire. Now, Easter is April 20th. So it's 8 days after the full moon of April 12th. We have April 12th, and then 8 days later is Easter on April 20th, which of course is a Sunday. So how do we figure out when Easter is? So there's a few boxes to, so to speak, check out when you're trying to find out when is Easter going to be. First, we need a vernal equinox. What is the spring equinox? We need the date for that. This past year it was March 20th. By the way, did anybody get to balance your eggs on March 20th? If you did and you took a picture, something else to send to me. I'd love to get your pictures of eggs that were balanced on March 20th. I had a bunch of students that balanced eggs on their end on March 20th, and it was really very impressive. And they were quite pleased with themselves to be able to do it. So you need an equinox. Then, after you have the equinox, the vernal equinox or spring equinox, you need to have a full moon. Well, after the vernal equinox now, the full moon happened on April 12th, and then you need a Sunday. And the first Sunday after the full moon, which follows the vernal equinox, that's the Sunday that's going to be Easter Sunday. Pretty cool? And Orthodox, like Greek Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, tend to celebrate Easter with kind of a different plan, different rules to find out when that is. But the nice thing about April 2025 is both the Orthodox Easter and the traditional Christian Easter happen to be on the same Sunday, April 20th. But that's how you find it out. you need a vernal equinox. After you have the vernal equinox, you need to have a full moon. And then you get your full moon, and the next Sunday is going to be Easter. Pretty cool. Then we have something neat coming up the late evening in April, which is going to be April 21st to April 22nd, is going to be the Lyrid meteor shower. And you can expect maybe 12 or so meteors an hour because the moon will be rising. It'll be a quarter moon that will be rising. And so it's better when the moon is not in the picture because you get to see some of the fainter meteors. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And we got planets to show you, some neat things happening with the moon, with the planets on Easter Sunday morning, a host of things to show you that are going on in the night sky. So let's have a look. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little tour of the moon. And now we're looking at the sky April 5th around 8:30, and the moon is out. And where is the moon? Well, check it out. The moon is hanging out with Mars. And so this is April 5th around 8:30. The actual time doesn't matter. All night the moon is going to be hanging out around Mars. And I chose this date just because it'll make a nice picture. Because every night thereafter, the moon tends to move more and more away from Mars. It's going to be moving from west to east about 13 degrees in 24 hours or so. And then, of course, you see Orion, and you can see the direction. We're kind of looking southwest. And Orion's belt, we have the key stars of Betelgeuse, the upper left as we look at Orion. Rigel is the blue-white star that is the lower right as we look at Orion. And if you take Orion's belt and you follow it upwards, you come up to Aldebaran, the eye of the bull, which is an orangish star. But then you can't miss blazing Jupiter. The planet Jupiter is the brightest object in the night sky apart from the moon, which on April 5th is around the first quarter moon. And I mentioned we're going to have a quarter moon for the Lyrid meteor shower. That'll be the third quarter moon. And then also we have Procyon, which is the little dog star, and Sirius, which is the big dog star. So neat things happening April 5th. The moon again is going to be on the move from west to east each night a little more. And we're going to jump to April 10th because there's a special treat waiting for us on April 10th. So April 10th, Orion is in the same place, of course, Jupiter blazing, you can't miss it. We have a bigger, or I should say a brighter moon now that is approaching full moon, not quite. It's a waxing gibbous moon, kind of still has a little bit of that hunchback part to it. And you can notice it's significantly further away from Mars. But the thing that I wanted to show you about April 10th, which is very cool, I think, is you have three objects in a row. You have Castor and Pollux. They're the twin stars in the constellation Gemini, the twins. And then you have Mars, which is just so ever nicely lined up. So if you didn't know better and you were just looking up and you say, oh, there's the three stars in a row, that's Orion's belt. But no, on April 10th, you have Castor and Pollux. I remember that this one is Castor because it's closer to the bright yellow star overhead, Capella. Castor and Capella both begin with a C. That's how I remember which one is Castor and which one is Pollux. Castor is closer to Capella. Castor and Pollux, and then Mars makes this nice straight line that gives you the idea that maybe that's Orion's belt. But the neat thing is Orion's belt is here, obviously, in Orion. And so you can see the three stars in a row that are in Orion's belt, Al-Natak, Al-Nalam, and Mintaka, the three stars in Orion's belt. And you can see the two stars plus a planet in a row on the same night in the same sky. This is a rare event. get your camera out and enjoy the 3 stars in Orion's belt, which are always hanging out together in Orion's belt. But then we have the added pleasure of having the planet Mars kind of making a straight line. So April 9th, 10th, 11th, you're going to get the same pretty much effect. But planets, what does the word planet mean? It means wanderer, and the planets are always wandering, so Mars is always on the move as well. So it's going to be moving kind of in this direction here. And then the moon, as I mentioned, is now over here as it moves from west to east. And then the next night it's going to be further away, and then it will be approaching the April 12th and 2 more nights of the full moon. So I thought that would be pretty cool to see for April 10th. We have the constellations. What they represent is kind of helpful. So I mentioned the Castor and Pollux are the twin stars, and here you have the 2 twins. Then Procyon is the little dog star, one of Orion's hunting dogs, the little dog. And then Sirius represents the big dog. And then notice, not too many people are aware, what's in between the 2 dogs? A unicorn. That's Monoceros, the unicorn, to the left as we look at Orion, to the left of Orion. Faint stars, so you may want to get a star map, star chart, and try to pinpoint the stars from a dark sky. You might be able to see that and catch out what's going on there. So that's kind of very cool. And then we also have coming up is Leo the lion. Leo the lion with the bright star Regulus representing the heart of the lion and ushering spring. So April is the first full month of spring, and that's where Leo is predominant in as we start spring. And then Virgo is coming here, and that's where the moon will be found on April 10th. Then we have some more exciting stuff going on. Easter morning, April 20th, is your opportunity to see the planet Mercury. Now, April 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, it's going to be there, but this is in the morning around 5:30, April 20th in the morning. Notice how close Mercury is to the horizon. Binoculars will be a big help for you. Venus, you won't have any trouble finding. Venus is so blazing bright. Before the sun's up, you won't have any trouble finding it. And then if you want a real challenge to find Saturn, you need to get your binoculars out. Saturn is not as bright as Mercury is, and it just went through a ring phase from the standpoint that Earth went through the plane of the rings of Saturn. We were looking down at the top of the rings. Then the last week or so of March, we passed through the ring plane. The rings became invisible. Saturn went in what we call conjunction with the sun. And so it went from being in the evening sky to now being in the morning sky. And now we're going to start to get a look at the underside of the rings for the next 7 years. But you'll have to wait maybe another month. It'll be in a lot better position to be able to see. But April 20th, a couple days before, a couple days after, is your opportunity to find Mercury if you have a low eastern horizon before the sun comes up. And again, binoculars will certainly be a big help for you. So that's Easter morning. And then I mentioned we had the meteor shower, the Lyrid meteor shower is coming up. And so the best time to see it is going to be after midnight, April 22nd, early morning after midnight of April 22nd. And this is around 1:30 a.m., but you can check it out. So Lyra is the constellation of Lyra, or Lyra, the harp. Vega is the brightest star in it. It's a magnitude 0 star, and it's part of the summer triangle. It's nice to talk about summer coming. But the radiant, as I showed you earlier, is kind of to the upper right of the star Vega. And the radiant will be rising around midnight, after midnight. So after midnight of April 22nd is going to be your better times. But again, who knows what the clouds are going to be. So if you can get out there April 19, 20, 21, early morning the 22nd is ideal. The 23rd, the 24th, have a look for some Lyrid meteors. And while I have this up, Vega, as I said, is the brightest star in the constellation of Lyra, but it's also part of the the Northern Cross. Deneb is at the top of the Northern Cross, you can see, and the whole thing with Vega and Deneb, and then also throw in Altair, make up what's called the Summer Triangle. So you have some great things to start looking at. After midnight on the 22nd of April, we have the Lyrid meteor shower, and hopefully we'll be able to see some good meteors, maybe 12 or more an hour. And as I mentioned, we're going to have a third quarter moon playing with us that night. So the better time to be looking is when the moon is not in the picture. So I hope that you enjoy that. I hope you get out and you see all the wonderful things that can be seen in your backyard, in the night sky. And feel free to email me. I'm Dave McDonald. My email is astromannh@gmail.com. Love to hear from you, entertain your questions, maybe something you'd like to see in a future show. And remember to always keep looking up.